Okay, happy Friday. This is a video for the Gizaudio X Binary Acoustic Chopin. Before we continue, I did this before, but I have to redo this because of how I word this. I'm going to give a $3,000 Loki Imperial Emerald, I think it's called, to a subscriber that comments below this video. You don't have to subscribe if you don't want to, but that's how I do this. So a subscriber who comments below this video is going to get a $3,000 $4,000 set by Kinera, 4 Sonian, 6 Knolls, 1 bone conduction, 1 dynamic driver. This is provided by Elise Audio, so shout out to them and thank you very much. I'm going to be passing this off to somebody so that we can spread the joy of music, and hopefully somebody that could never afford this is going to be the one that actually wins it. Again, comment below this video. You have to be a subscriber because that's how that goes. And thumb up the video helps with the algorithm. I'd appreciate that. Let's go ahead and talk about the Chopin. Let's put the border up. This is a set that's similar to the Variations in its kind of tuning. Remember, tuning is most appropriate when evaluating the tonality of a set. You can see if something's going to be warm, something's going to be bright, it's going to be maybe thin because of how the mid bass is tuned, dark because of precipitous roll-off. That is the most obvious and quickest thing to glean from a graph. There's really not a whole lot after that that you can get, like technical ability, etc., separation, perceived stage. But in tonality, this would be a set that is kind of similar to the Variations, but it's much more affordable. It's similar to the Red by Truth Ears as well, but I've said many times, and I'll say it again, not a fan of the Red, fan of the Blue. The Blue is a audibly detached subwoofer that plays great with hip-hop portion of my library. It's very intense, but for that part of my library, it's awesome. The Red came along and it was like a more polished blue and kind of blended in with a lot of other stuff that's already in the market. So not a huge fan of the Red. Love Blue for what it is, and also jealous that I didn't come up with the idea. I would recommend the Chopin over the Red easily. Very, very easily. It's much more resolving set. The top right, the scores, 5 is average, average, average. Nobody wants to be average. This is a 7 across the board. It's pretty good with bass, mids, treble, and resolution. There's nothing stepping out. I wish it had more of this, or I wish it had less of that. It's quite good tuning. On the bottom right, let's move over to there. It's got a price of $200 on its release, I believe, and it comes with some special tips. It's got a configuration of a single 8mm dynamic driver and 3 balanced armatures. It's got an efficiency of 122 and an impedance of 12 ohms. This is good with, let's talk about bass. The kick drum in Bonham's entrance to When the Levee Breaks, which is iconic. When people do videos about a certain thing in a song, like the kick drum intro, you know that there's something special going on. And in fact, there is with Led Zeppelin, because it was just a so authoritative. So they do videos about it, about how they mixed it with mics hanging down a stairway at a castle kind of thing, and this does that well. It also does Black Sabbath. It does bass guitar well. I've heard some recordings where it sounds like it's a little bit back, but one of the best ones that I have is a vinyl rip of Sweet Leaf by Black Sabbath, and I listened to that for a couple reasons. One is I want to hear the bass line, and two is because the bassist and the drummer are kind of going into solos at the same time, which is a really, really, really good chance to pick up on masking. Masking is what it sounds like. It's where one thing is kind of covering up the other because they're in the same part of the frequency response graph area, and they're going at the same time with emphasis. So one can automatically kind of cancel out the other one. With this set, the Chopin, I'm picking up the basses clearly if I choose to focus on that, or the drummer clearly if I choose to focus on that, as I did air drums in my original video of the unbox. It does that great. So the low end is tuned quite well. As we get into the mids, let's say something like Chris Cornell, All Saints, with 2 or 3, 4 excellent female vocalists. Every one of them is fantastic in a different way. This tuning in the mid bass is perfect because female vocals are very susceptible to a husk with mid bass elevation that makes them sound unnatural, which is why a set like the Variations is very appealing to people that love K-pop and J-pop, vocal purists, some say. And it doesn't interfere with male vocals either, which naturally have a kind of, if there is mid bass elevation, males can seem to have more flexibility where females immediately seem to be impacted. This doesn't do that to either, so vocals are really quite well done. The treble, let's talk about something like Vivaldi, which should be near here. Vivaldi, Verdi, the Italian composers, Tchaikovsky, because I love waltzes, sound excellent on this. One would hope that a set named after a composer would sound great with classical music. It in fact does. As we get into resolution, let me get back to treble. The guitar solo, or with distortion pedals from stuff like Metallica or things like that, where there's just a lot of energy because of the distortion pedals in the upper mid to treble region, it can get quite busy. There's no point where I thought to myself, that BA timbre is getting on me. In fact, I never really thought about the fact that this is a BA hybrid, and I'm kind of sensitive to that. This set is not jumping out at me in that way, which is a great tell. I'm never thinking about the BAs screaming at me, because they never really do. Resolution, again, I'll put up that Randy Rhoads person that is actually doing the Randy Rhoads track. Resolution to me is the ability to perceive subtle nuances within a track that you know exist but don't necessarily expect them to be there. And you don't ding stuff because it doesn't do that, because it's just special moments. Michael Jackson, Want to Be Starting Something, on one of the most famously well produced by Quincy Jones and others, the Thriller album, there's an error in that track, and it's on the left side at about a minute 29 to minute 31. You'd be picked up by highly resolving transducers. The finger slide on the fretboard on Randy Rhoads D can sound like it's there, or you can pick up the whole thing on a highly resolving set. So with my library, it's stuff like that, pedal pushes, breaths into mics. This set does good. Listening to this in the quintet by Kiwi Ears, which is I think 4 or 5 different transducers combined, that would be the more resolving set. But otherwise, I would probably rec this set over that, because it's just a more musical and engaging set than the quintet, which is an intense. But if you're all about resolution and you'll EQ to get it to your preferred thing, the bass set would be the quintet for that, because it's just a res beast. If you're not into EQ and you just want a musical set out of the box, the Chopin would be the better pick for that. I guess that is it. Again, if you're interested in winning a $3,500 set, the low key, I tried to give it away before, but I'm editing prior videos, because you got to be very careful how you do that. You don't have to subscribe, but I'm taking subscribers from the comment section, and those are who are winning. So it's how I'm doing it. You can do what you want to do. If you can like and subscribe the video for the algorithm, I'd appreciate that. For some reason, I'm able to ask that without hesitation. So if you can do that, I appreciate it. Congrats to Timmy. Somebody mentioned in a previous video, of course he's going to like it because it's another reviewer. Great comment, dude, because it gets me, or it gives me the chance to talk about bias, whether it's conscious or subconscious. Every video out there by every reviewer done has bias in it, whether they're conscious of it or not, because they met the representative at CanJam, or they met the other reviewer at CanJam, or they're just close to that other person, or they like the rep from the company. You should hesitate when you believe anything from anybody that gets any benefit out of it. All the time. From a company, obviously, from a representative, obviously, because they're essentially the company, from a seller who wants to get stuff off of their virtual shelves, from a viewer who might like or not like something. You can start to see over the past year and a half, people like a certain set, and it might be kind of because they like the influencer, and they maybe don't like a set because they kind of don't like. You can start to see the good and bad of all of this, but keep your eyes wide open. It's all valuable information. There's red flags in every single video. And when people say there are none in the video they're about to produce, or what they're saying, that is itself a red flag, because we're not robots. We're not AI. We all have things in it. It's your job as a consumer to consider that and to calculate the bias, like I say, and to move forward. Don't let anybody tell you that there's no bias and there's no influence or whatever. That saying that itself is a red flag for me. Just accept the fact that we're humans. We like certain people. We don't like certain companies. The stuff is going to leak in. Pay attention. Does it look like it's impacting somebody's overall opinion? Do you think so? Well, then move to another video and check that one out. Don't pretend that stuff doesn't happen, because it does, and it happens by everybody in every video all the time. That's the hobby we're in. Sorry to jump on that in Timmy's video, but there seems to be people that stay away from doing videos for other collaborators because there's going to be some kind of bias, as if there's not bias in every video out there on every item. And for people that say there is no bias in this, there's no, I'm not influenced because this person sent this to me or because I know this. Oh, please, just do the video, talk about the music, what do you think about it, and let the person that watches it decide for themselves. Come on now. Sorry, Timmy, didn't mean to throw that in there, but let's move past that stage. Like, that's something that came along when collaborations began. It's been around a long time, man. That's just another angle. And now I'm out. Good job, bro. Did really nice. Fits my library well. Let's look back at this in 4 or 5 months and see if anything I said seemed to be overly glowing. I think I toned it down, actually. And I'm out.